If you're new here, my name is Mona. I teach how identity, the nervous system, and attention shape our reality, and how you can play with these elements in order to self-adjust and to create better experiences in your reality. So welcome. Again, I'm live every Monday at 12 p.m. I work with a group of people in a Facebook group called Circle Infinity. Check out my bio to see if anything is for you or if you want to join us. We're working on this big book right now and the feedback is mega positive. So let's keep it this way. Today I want to talk about the lie of the past and the creative spark. This is what came from the discussions that I had with my group that are happening in the Facebook group. I want to also talk about the difference between the month 1 that we did and the month 2 and how you may be feeling different. And I want to see if you have any questions about the work. So I want to talk first about the lie of the past, because a lot of people who are doing this work are, let's say, later in life, like 35 plus. When you do this work when you're 20, you'll find that it's a lot easier because you don't have as much conditioning as when you're 40 or above. But the point is, the work can be done at any age. You'll just have more to overcome if you're older because you lived more. You lived more conditioning, you lived more experiences, etc. And here's how I want you to think of your past. I've talked about this before, but I want to reiterate. See the past as something that's behind you, that's information, and the future as something that's in front of you, that's also information. And what happens is expect that the information from the past will try to penetrate this layer of your mind, and your work that you're doing on yourself will try to penetrate to remind you of who you are and to create your future from the past, because this is how the system creates our future. It's like more of the past. That's the easiest way for the future to be created. So if you don't do anything at all, your future will be shaped from the past, from the experiences that most marked you. A lot of people have repeating patterns, repeating partners in different bodies, repeating job happenings, etc. And this is because it's the easiest thing to render into the future. So because the past will absolutely try to come to get us, try to remind us of who we are, try to remind us of what we've done, especially if you're not religious and you don't, you haven't asked God for forgiveness, you don't feel like there's anybody there to save you, it will affect you a lot when it comes. And it will be, this work will be like 2 steps forward, 2 or 3 steps back. It could feel this way because of the identity that's trying to impose yourself. So I want you to ask yourself a question. Who told you the future, your future, needs to answer to the mistakes that you've made in the past? Like, who told you this? When you remember something that happens, when you're feeling guilt, okay? Why do you believe that that is the truth and not just a lie that's coming back in order to keep you on a certain path? Like, I would think to myself this, and we all have those moments, just to be clear. You can't become a perfect person who never remembers the past. You'll remember the past, but that's different than the past shaping what you're going to do next. So an example of this would be if you're dating, right? And you had 10 bad interactions. Now you stopped dating, you worked on yourself, you worked on your mindset, you have a different identity, you're hitting the market with a different identity. This is the key. When you're hitting the market with a different identity, you're like, the apps again, There's only this type of experiences out there. There's only one man in the world, a certain type of man, meaning, and that's what's going to happen again. That's your past speaking. Who told you that your future has anything to do with what you've encountered in the past? Right? This is what you have to remind yourself. And the past never comes back to present the truth. It comes back to present the way you felt about an experience you had based on who you were constructed to be. So remember, memories, if you change your perspective and if you change your identity, you'll remember a memory differently. One example of this is if you remember somebody who's hurt you or insulted you, and let's say it wasn't nothing tragic, but it was significant enough that you remember that moment. When you grow as a person, if you put yourself back in that moment and in the shoes of the person who said those things to you, you might realize they may have meant something else. They may have been going through their own stuff. They may have not intended the hurt that you felt. So the hurt that you felt was based on the construct of you. Now that you've reconstructed yourself, it should feel different. And to this degree, I think it's okay to remember certain things and sort of alleviate, see how it feels. Does it feel the same as before? If it feels the same as before, you haven't really changed. That's the bottom line of this. Because the way your memory plays out in your head should change over time. First of all, it should decrease in the level of intensity, 100% of the hurt, let's say. But it should also, you should be able to see it from a different perspective. So maybe your parents didn't pay attention to you and you were raised by your neighbors because your parents worked so hard and there's no resentment in you like there used to be when you were 20. Somebody has hurt you, cheated on you in the past years ago, but you're realizing that you've ignored a lot of the red flags that they presented and that you kind of knew that he would be that kind of person if you're really honest with yourself. And through that perspective, your next partner, like you don't need to bring this fear into your next relationship because now you're different. You can choose better. You can do the process better. You can select better. So these are the type of things I want you to consider when the past comes back with a vengeance in your mind to remind you of who you are. The past is not there to present any truth. It's just there to show you your conditioning. The way you react to the past should change over time in proportion with how much you have changed, in proportion to how much you have grown. And then the forgiveness that you have for the past will arise automatically from this growth. You also didn't know any better. You didn't know any better 10 years ago or 20 years ago, based on how you should have acted maybe differently to prevent what hurt you. If we're honest with ourselves, right? If we're honest with ourselves, today maybe you wouldn't put yourself in the type of situations that you put yourself in back then. And there has to be an element of forgiveness for yourself too. Now, I want you to also understand that the past, when it comes back, is just because you're missing that part of you that you used to be. So if you have a hurtful memory that, let's say you're 35, and you have a hurtful memory arise from when you were 25, you've changed to now, but you know the memory still hurts. Remind yourself also that you're missing the girl that you were back then. That girl no longer exists. You know, the experiences between 25 and 35 shaped her into a different person. And therefore, that girl no longer exists. And there's part of you that misses other parts of you that used to be there and are no longer there. We don't realize this because we don't just wake up and become a different person. This happens through time. But if you have grown, you will miss, and especially if she didn't know any better, you will miss her with, and sort of like in a protective way. You will think of her and you will be like, wow, you know, like, I really wish I could help her. And that sometimes could make you hate the other person more, or the circumstances that you're on more. And sort of don't dwell in that. Don't dwell in that because it's very easy. So a trigger will pop up 100%, but a trigger doesn't mean unfinished business, okay? All memories can be reconstructed from perspective. You have a different perspective now. Just because you have a trigger doesn't mean unfinished business. I want you to finish this whole thing with the past and just see it as something that's going to pass you. It's going to pass you by, okay? It was there before, it's going to pass you now. Your future has nothing to do with the past. I can't repeat that enough. But also check your conditioning that your future has to be like the past, because that's the conditioning, right? Any memory comes up, has nothing to do with my present. Has nothing to do with my present. So speaking of, in a way, let's see here. I have a few screenshots that I take of what's going on in my group throughout the week, and I use them as teaching moments. So the screen says, I've been keeping up with the daily pages, but I have not been able to focus on the work in month 2. Seems the identity I was building in month 1 is being challenged by my old identity, and I've been feeling tired, fearful, and frustrated with myself. Looking forward to tomorrow's life. Okay, so if you're doing this book, we're on month 2 right now with the group, but you can start anytime. You gotta understand, every month will trigger something different in you. Okay, so month 1 was about novelty. The novelty was high, right? The hope was active. The identity was only conceptual. It maintained it reinforced some very interesting concepts in there about the nature of reality. So it was more like the novelty, things that, yeah, you kind of know, but now it's like penetrating you deep because you're doing this work every day. But month 2 is where identity meets the nervous system. And we're doing this via micro behavior adjustments. So you're saying in month 2, you haven't been able to do this, you haven't been able to focus, because this is where the rubber actually hits the road. Like, it's nice to contemplate, and a lot of people just stay in the state of contemplation of, oh yeah, there's this bigger reality. Reality is like a film, it's like a simulation, I can change the frame. It's really interesting to contemplate all this, right? But when it comes down to, are you actually going to do things differently? And are you actually going to focus on self, right? Focus, dedicate to yourself enough attention as to observe yourself, observe how you feel in that moment when you're doing something different. Basically, build the identity, build the new identity via, and I'm starting light with the micro behaviors. Are you really gonna do that? Or is your old self all of a sudden, oh, month 1 was interesting, I really liked the concepts, but now month 2, I have to sit in the shower and feel the water on my body and be focused on just my body. I have to look in the mirror and acknowledge every part of my body and its beauty. I have to do all these things. Forget it. You know what I mean? So that kind of comes into play as well. It's not, month 2 is different than month 1, because month 1, it was like interesting concepts, and now it's like, can you live that identity? Is your nervous system safe enough? Is your nervous system prioritizing you enough to have you standing in front of a mirror and take 5-10 minutes out of your day and dedicate it to yourself, to looking at yourself? And maybe what you're going to realize in that mirror exercise is that you hate everything about yourself. This is okay. It's sort of like where you're at. It tells you where you're at. And your old identity doesn't want to recognize that it's actually holding you back. You know, it doesn't want to let you look in the mirror and be like, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks. And you know, now all of a sudden, you're not good enough. And because it will be exposed. It will expose itself as the thing that's holding you back. Right? So it doesn't want you to do any of these exercises. This is why I told you it's important. Like, if you want to take a break, but don't skip any of the exercises. So for example, if you couldn't do it today, stay on today's date tomorrow and just stay on this until you can do the exercise. It's very, very important to sedimentizing and crystallizing this change, because you have to face the hard facts about the exercises that you're not drawn to do. You have to face that. You have to understand the why. You have to understand the why, okay? The old identity will compete. We know this, okay? And I think in your case specifically, for this queen who left this comment, your mind, your particular mind, is always trying to compute the how. It's harder for you, I think, than for other people to let go of that how. So your mind being so active, so intelligent, it's always computing. So this is even more important, to lose yourself in the shower exercise, to lose yourself in tuning into your body in the grocery store and see, what do I want? Where do I feel what I want? Do I feel it, you know, as a taste sensation in my mouth? Do I feel it in my stomach? Do I feel just intuitively drawn to some foods? So you really, to stop the mind from overthinking and going over all these thoughts, you really have to do these exercises, okay, Queen? I don't want to call names in the live, but she knows who she is, and I think she's on the live. Excuse me. So I just want to make sure you're not missing anything. Practice instead of trying to do it perfectly. People try to do everything perfectly, especially women. Okay, stop and say, you know, this, whatever I'm feeling right now, things are reorganizing, and it's a little bit chaotic right now as things are reorganizing, but I will keep the practice even if I don't do it perfectly. So everybody in my group has a journal, and we try to journal and contemplate sort of on the exercise of the day, or sometimes you won't feel the need to do that. You'll contemplate on something else. And I'm telling you, I started this in January, and up to now, maybe I have 3-4 days where I can't fill a whole page. Like, I'm not inspired enough to do that. And I'm generally inspired, and I can do more than one page, but some days I'm not, and I'm not pushing myself through it. I'm not thinking, what else can I say? I'm just allowing myself to do the practice because that's what I decide to do. I decide to be an identity that's disciplined and that is prioritizing myself and my thought process. And when the pen hits the paper, sometimes I'll be more inspired, sometimes I'll be less inspired. But the idea is I am going to do it, because if I don't do it, I'm going to default back to previous stages of me that didn't do this kind of work or didn't do this work properly, okay? So I want to talk about the identity a little bit more because we're so heavy in it. And right now, again, like I said, month 2 is where identity is very tied to the nervous system. The nervous system is saying, don't do these things. Yasmina says, I'm the same way. I read and do the exercises, but I do not journal each day. Yeah, so it's important you do the practice to remind yourself, this is where I am. This is what, you know, the group and I are doing. This is what the work that I've committed to myself to do. But some days you'll feel very inspired and some days you won't. And such is life. You know, such is life in 3D. It's okay. Just don't give up. And don't give in to 3D reality and your past telling you something differently. Okay, so now what I want to talk about identity is something interesting that, you know, I've noticed in myself and a lot of other people. The people who speak 2 languages, let's say your mother tongue is not English, you learn English later, but if you speak 2 languages very fluently, you will know something experientially about identity that maybe people who only speak 1 language do not know. And that is the fact that you are not the same person in your mother tongue as you are in English or whatever your second language is. Do you guys know this? Does everybody know this? Sometimes the change is subtle. Sometimes it's 2 different people. It's completely 2 different people. So if you speak 2 languages, what you'll notice is the self, you already know this experientially and within you. Yourself is not fixed. Who you are is not fixed. And there's an identity fluidity that transfers within seconds of, let's say I'm interacting with somebody in the mall versus I'm talking to my mother in a different language, right? There's a shift in tone. There is an emotional response within me that is different. Some people can express themselves way more in their mother tongue, but some people can express themselves more in English if their culture and their mother tongue is more restrained. And it's completely different. You can be softer in one and more direct in another, but who you are, the person that you are, is not the same. Okay? So the active facets of you change from one language to the other. And some languages, some cultures, but culture is shaped by language, allow anger without guilt. You know, some cultures that you can explode and you can, you know, have an anger fit and there's no guilt in it because that's kind of how the language allows your expression through it. Some languages allow for authority without apology. You know how in some languages it would be weird if you say I'm sorry over and over again, right? For some people, saying I love you all the time in a certain language is very odd. It's strange, as people say in English, right? When you hang up with somebody, it's like, I love you. And that's where we are. This is why if you speak 2 languages, all of this is known to your subconscious, and your shift should be easier. That's what you have to tell yourself. I already know how to put on this different glove of a different identity. I already know this. I already know how I easily switch, because language is such a powerful shaper of conditioning. Yeah, you see, you're saying I'm 2 different people. I feel like I'm highly different also. I'm not 2 different people, but I am different. I'm different in even how I am able to express myself. This has nothing to do with vocabulary or anything like that. Certain languages don't allow for an expression the same as other languages. Many people say other languages are a lot deeper in terms of, let's say, poetry or expressing a certain deep idea, much more so than English. Like, I don't know, I don't want to get into a literary conversation, but that's sort of, I wanted to give you something helpful for your identity and for how to look at identity. It's always been really interesting to me how people can switch between 2 different personalities in real time. Russian is deep that way. Okay. I don't speak Russian, but many languages are deep that way. Farsi is deep that way, very deep. Many languages, Arabic, much deeper. Like some writings can't even be translated. And you can extend this to different environments also. So different cultural environments. This is why when you travel to a different country, even if you don't speak that language, there will be some identity fluidity happening inside of you, even if you have nothing to do with that culture, right? You will be different. I find that I behave slightly differently in different countries. It's very interesting how we are shaped not by one thing. We think, oh, we're shaped by our trauma from childhood, and we're shaped by so many things. You know, guys, reality is so negotiable. This is what happens. It's like going through a maze, but you can never exit, because as you move, the maze shifts. It shifts, and in that shift, it might put you on a better path, on an easier path, on a more frustrating path. It's kind of like that. This is why you have to understand that everything is negotiable, and reason with yourself that everything that kind of happens to you, or the circumstances you're in, it's very much like the maze that shifts. If you shift, if you're trying to exit a circumstance, or by focusing on a different circumstance, the maze will shift. Now you have to navigate a little bit more, something else. But some things will change. And I did a video last week that I said, I think I said, look, it's pretty difficult, It takes a lot of commitment to change thought, such that thought affects emotions, and such that both of these things together affect your actions. But if you want a cheat code, is this: start with the action. Behave completely differently than you always do. Offer a different response to reality than you did for the last 20 years. Let's say you've been dating for 20 years. Your approach is one thing. Your conclusion after every date is kind of the same conclusion. You evaluate people the same way. Change all of this. Change your approach, your action, change them. And this, at first, expect that it will make the other levels, like your thought and emotion, very uncomfortable. Super uncomfortable. Like, try not to say anything when you want to say something. You know, don't send that long text. Or if you don't say anything, you tend to disappear. Just try to express yourself instead of disappearing. Just do the opposite of what you've been doing so far that hasn't been working very well. The body learns way faster through action more than thought. Yeah, 100%. 100%. You just have to expect that it's going to be highly uncomfortable, because if you don't expect this, you're gonna go and do it, and you're going to feel the pressure in every part of your body, right? Like you're gonna get stiff, you're gonna feel uncomfortable, your heart might beat faster, you're going to come up with all these excuses. Oh my God, I tried this, but it's not for me. I don't want to do this again because, you know, it made me uncomfortable. You go to the grocery store, you buy that $9.99 cherries, you're like, oh my God, how could I have spent that much on cherries? They're not even that good. Can we open up a portal to move to a different identity? Everybody's looking for a magical ritual. If we can just say one word, one spell. Did I tell you guys, somebody contacted me once, told me what they wanted, and told me that they pay me for me doing it for them. I said, well, this is how you should approach it. No, I don't have time. I just tell me what it costs, you do it. I can't do that. I'm not a witch. I don't know how to do that. My own life is a lot of redirection, a lot of nervous system regulation, a lot of discipline on what I pay attention to. Somebody got a fancy chocolate bar that was $13 and your sister was in shock. Oh, this is an important point. People in your life right now expect a certain behavior of you. They expect you to behave exactly the same as they're used to. People around in your life they'll hold you back like crazy. I don't know if you guys understand this or you expect this, but a lot of people give up because they just don't want to lose that closeness with that group that they have. Okay, because you're going to start noticing the people distance from you, they'll question you, they'll judge you. They're like, I don't know what happened to Mona, what happened to her. She doesn't, do things the same way. She must be going through something, or who knows. And to me, the stories that they tell me might not resonate the same way they did, or I might not feel as implicated in the whole thing as I once felt. So you got to pay attention, because everybody, the circle that you've built around you, their energy system expects the same energy system that they've always received. If they're not on a path to grow, they're going to hate your growth. And you're better off not telling them. So for example, when your sister said, oh my God, you spend so much, I don't want you to tell her it's part of an exercise I'm doing with Mona's group. You can say something like, yeah, I really wanted to eat this. Very simple. That's what I want to eat right now. Oh, but they're so expensive. Doesn't matter. I come first. Maybe I can't afford to eat dinner because I ate this expensive chocolates, but that's what I wanted to eat. That's what my body told me it wants right now. Oh, are you going through something? It's funny, huh? I want to read another one. Let me know if you guys have interesting stories like this. I feel like every story has something, that it can teach others how to approach things. Oh, yes, Mina, I'm telling them that I'm doing this new thing called living. Yeah, exactly. Putting myself first is actually me living more. Do you guys understand that? That if you put yourself first, you're actually going to live more. Maybe not longer chronologically, but you're going to live more because you're much more present and aware of what's happening around you, and you're experiencing much more than if you're just lost in your mind, in the anxiety about the future and in the depression about the past and the guilt about the past. You can live like double, maybe even more. I don't think people live real life more than 20% of their capacity. I don't think so, because the majority of people are completely lost in this mental arena. Yeah. Naima says, when I do a water fast, people are really in disbelief. See, people have been taught that this chronological time we have on Earth is all there is, okay? And they have to pack as much short-term pleasure in it as they possibly can, okay? As much sex, as much food, as much entertainment, they have FOMO about not watching something. They have, do you know what I mean? Like it's all about, oh my God, how can I get more out of this 3D, you know, more, I gotta eat more, I gotta drink more, I gotta participate in more parties. But really, what happens when you stop? For example, you do a water fast, you completely give up food, you experience more, but in a different way. And you make room for more. It's like, imagine if this is the road that I'm traveling on, and all of a sudden space starts expanding and all these new lanes become available to me. It's like that. Like right now, I'm on one road and I can collect all these little things that are around me. But if I can do something to create more space around me, now I have more options. Now, of course, I still have to exercise my free will and make selections. And it's okay if you make a mistake. You can always understand, oh, this selection wasn't good because of that. I will do it differently or better next time. But most people, you gotta understand, they don't have any other option except living the same day over and over again. It's like the Groundhog Day, okay? It's the same exact day, just with a little bit different variations. As little as possible, okay? Let's go to the next one. And the next one was about the creative spark, and it's something I wanted to talk about. She's saying, at the start of this year, I prayed to get my creative spark back, and it came back full force. I've been writing every free moment I get and actually having fun with it. What surprised me is how much it shifted my inner state. I feel more feminine, more alive, more open. I even notice less resistance around things like having kids and building a future, which is new for me. I also feel excited about everyday life now and not just special occasions. Just grateful and to be continuing the work. And I want to talk about the creative spark, okay? The creative spark in us is really our access to the divine, to the spirit in us. That's where it comes from, okay? People don't really create anything. What happens is sometimes we have more access, our spirit has more access to the field, and sometimes it has less access. And that has to do with us and our preparation and the way we live life, okay? The creative spark is sort of like an intuition with a good feeling, like a moment when you know you're supposed to do something, a moment when you have something to say, you have something to express. Because what happens is, think of it as a delicate and fragile energy thread. You can think of it this way just because it's easier. That's just coming from above and is connecting to you. But the mistake people make when they feel this inspiration is they don't understand there's a window that closes fast. And anybody who's been truly inspired can tell you this. Like me, if I have an inspiration for a video, but I don't look my best, I'm in my pajamas, I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow it doesn't sound the same way it did in my head. Even if I make a note of it, it's not going to be the same. And I know when it doesn't sound the same as when I was inspired, it won't affect the other people who are supposed to hear it in the same way. So you have to act on the creative spark immediately. And you have to acknowledge it for what it is. It's like a live energy packet or thread that is materializing itself in your life. Don't attach it to your ego, such as, oh my God, I got this smart idea, I'm so smart. No, right now you are connected. You are connected and able to draw from the field. Michael Jackson was saying this. He was saying every time he woke up with songs in his head, or he would be very inspired at different moments, and he would say, I've noticed that if I don't implement my songs right away, then I would hear Prince, who was another singer at the time, sing my song or my melody, the melody that came in my head. And that's exactly what it is. We're not actually the creator of things. You can't think that Mozart, he had lots of health issues. Wasn't he blind? I can't remember if he was blind, but he had a lot of disabilities and all of that. Based on the education he could have had at the time and whatever the world was at the time, could have come up by himself just thinking about things. He had the smart ideas for execution. No, that's all inspired work. All of that, paintings, everything. And our creative spark can actually be applied to our business life as well in today's world, right? So the way it can apply to the business world is you have an idea either for a product or either for a video or either to contact somebody or either to purchase something, to try it, to see how you can collaborate on this thing. It can come in so many ways, right? And I want you, when you have that creative spark, to act on it right away. That's what it is. But a lot of people don't do this. A lot of people wait until like the right time, gaining the confidence. Like they might say, yeah, this is for me, but once I gain more confidence so I can speak, let's say, so I can make a presentation, or once I have more validation on my previous product or on my other things, once I gain more followers, they keep coming up with excuses as to why they're not doing it right now. And if you come up with one excuse as to why you're not implementing it right away, the creative spark is likely to depart from you. In fact, the creative spark needs to be invited. You need to almost pray for it. You know what I mean? Or literally pray for it. You want the inspiration. And you're going to invite it. Okay? You're going to remove pressure. Remove the pressure to do something today and just ask, what can I do that's a match for me that would benefit me and the world? Then create space. Create space by creating time in your day to just reflect and creating physical space in your life. I tell all my queens, you really have to have physical space around you. Give away as much as possible. Closet, furniture that's overwhelming. Sort of sit in your space and see what feels like I can't move, like I can't breathe in this room. What is it about it? Maybe you need more plants. Maybe you need more life around you in your own space that you sit in. You definitely need to keep your space very clean and very organized. How do you differentiate inspiration from an ego thought? Look, an ego thought can be a brilliant idea that you have based on past experience. And this could be, hey, I heard something about, I don't know, Elon Musk, and I decided to do something with my shares and it paid off. Okay? So the ego thought is not necessarily bad, but the creative spark is something completely different. Acting on an ego thought, the ego, the construct of you, your intelligence, your past experience, you sense that something's not right about this potential business partner, and all of this is based on what you've lived before. That's the ego. I'm assuming that's what you mean by an ego thought. And sometimes that leads to good results because you're supposed to exercise your experience to analyze things and to make sure that you use your analytical mind to make decisions also. The creative spark can be felt. When I am not in the mood to write in my journal, I'm not in the mood to write in my journal. But sometimes I can't, I gotta do it even a second time because I have something that I need to express right now. Or I have a gratitude that I need to express right now. Or all of a sudden, I've been thinking about this person that's not been on my radar, or of obsession, or of I don't feel anything for that person, but all of a sudden I'm thinking about them. It's a creative spark. I'm supposed to do something with this that doesn't come from my ego. Now, if you've been thinking and obsessing about somebody and all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I got the creative spark to write to them, that's not the creative spark, right? Because it can't be. So I want you to sort of differentiate it. Is it something that I couldn't have come up with by myself, or is it something that I could have come up by myself? So for example, I really know the trends now because I'm trading and doing some certain things. That's something that I can know by myself. It's not a creative spark. I put the time into it and I read about it and what have you. And this is something, some knowledge that I have, sort of like a financial planner with, that I can execute on certain decisions. But if a newspaper falls in front of me, what newspaper? They don't have those anymore, but all of a sudden I'm seeing an ad for something that's new, or like a mining stock or something like this, that I wouldn't have researched, I wouldn't have seen, all of a sudden I have to associate it. How does this feel inside of me? Does it feel like I want to, maybe it's inspiration. Maybe do you see what I mean? But it's not something that I would have come through the conclusion of just my rational mind and my logical thought. Because, you know, or I'm behind somebody at the Starbucks counter and I hear two people giving each other stock tips. I'm like, maybe I'm meant to be here and hear this very inspired conversation. And perhaps that's not a good example, because I don't want to give financial advice on what to do to anybody. I don't want that liability. But I think you get my point. Look, I've also done a video of about feeling stuck. And I have this very profound knowing within me that every time I feel stuck, I know what's happening. My brain can't compute the solution and is trying to compute it. And because based on what it knows so far, based on its experience, based on its IQ, based on what it knows about the world and its beliefs about the world, it's trying to give me a solution and it can't. And I know this is what feeling stuck means. That's all it means. It doesn't mean that I'm actually stuck. It means that my brain is stuck. So the ego can't come up with a solution. The ego, my whole construct, my whole persona, can't come up with a solution. So right now, I have to release it. This doesn't mean that I'm stuck. It just means, hello, I can't do this. But the universe can. The machine can compute it. God is on my side. We have all this energy that we've generated coherently. I have all these tools at my disposal where I don't think of a solution. And the solution kind of just has to present itself. Now it becomes a matter of faith. Do you have faith in that the neutral machine can compute? Do you have faith that God is on your side? Do you have faith that you have changed enough to attract to you different results than you were attracting 5 years ago? Or are you so strongly rooted in your old identity that everything you've done differently have been just little sparks here and there that you couldn't maintain? You have to be honest with yourself about that also. And then you have to increase your practice if that's the case. What are we thinking right now? See if I have anything else here. I also wrote down here to tell you when I felt my own creative spark dissolving. That's when I felt my nervous system overload. I was scared or something in my circumstances. When my nervous system was in overload, I barely had any creative spark ever. Okay? Analytical mind, when the analytical mind takes over, you also have to watch it if you have a very analytical mind. When the outcome matters too much, you will probably either not get a creative spark or not trust the creative spark, because the outcome matters a lot. This is probably the most important. When I drop the importance of a certain outcome, let's say with a certain person, and I just focused on this is my life, the way it's functioning. Like one example is when I decided I want to be a wife and I will be married, and inside of me this identity of a wife was developing, irrespective of the outcome of being with a certain person. Okay? So when the outcome matters a lot, when you have time pressures, when your nervous system is completely fried, the creative spark doesn't really have a chance to penetrate all of this chaotic energy field you're offering. Because remember, the creative spark not only has to come but your system has to be ready to recognize it and also integrate it. Sometimes you recognize it, but you can't integrate it. You don't have the structure for it. Sometimes with the majority of the population, they don't even acknowledge it, because they live in a world of just scrolling, watching the news, and being upset about something, or about several things, about 10 things. Being upset about 10 things every day, from their boss to the president, to what's happening in a completely different part of the world, to what their sister said 2 years ago, to the heartbreak. They got rejected for a date. Who cares? Guys, who cares? Let's see if I missed anything. How to increase the faith in a vision of the future we want to create. Faith will naturally occur when you believe that you are worth that life. When there's a part of you that can see themselves in that life. The problem is, you draw identity, and a lot of people draw identity from what has happened to them. It's very easy to say these things, oh, just act like the person you want to be, and just be that person. Just be that person who's wanted, who's, you know, like, you're no longer doormat for men, but, you know, now you are a princess and a queen. And it doesn't, there's no switch you can flip. So the faith that you will, let's say, find a perfect match for you will increase as you're moving away from the person who's never found the perfect mate and has only found disappointments in the people she was dating. Does that make sense? I want to know if that makes sense. I have one more I want to read. Let's see. Somebody said, so pleasantly surprised at the month-by-month shift in my who I am becoming pages. Since last month, I received a bigger raise than anticipated and a bigger and better office with even more natural light than I had previously. In the past, I didn't dare ask for this office because it was highly sought after across the company. The space was recently assigned to me, so I didn't even have to ask. I don't feel unworthy or guilty, even though I know several other people wanted to claim it. In the past, the people pleaser in me would have certainly felt resistance to getting the best of anything and felt extremely uncomfortable for being chosen. I think this is a rather common experience, especially for women. She's asking. Yes, it is. I have definitely sabotaged or blocked so many similar blessings in my life, but I'm learning not to. And I largely credit this work and group energy, so thank you all. I truly feel calm about my new office, not even very excited about it, just simply aligned with receiving the best of the situation, grateful and worthy of good things. I almost didn't write about it, but I recognize the process as part of the work. Great testimonial here. It's of course not about the office. It's about two things here, okay? About how things naturally flow to you without you making a case for it. Once you switch identity, right? Once you drop, she's very clear here that she no longer feels unworthy or guilty like she would have in the past, okay? She doesn't feel that resistance because she decided that she's not a people pleaser anymore. Like, that doesn't matter to her anymore to please other people. This is one huge drawback for women. We try to please everybody all the time. We try to be perfect daughter to aging parents, perfect mother to children, a perfect wife to husbands, or perfect woman on the dating world. We just try to please other people, show up at work, and show how, you know, the fact that we're mothers and have other responsibilities doesn't affect our performance. It doesn't. We're still the top of the top. That's why, what's that saying? Any great man is just the average woman, because the average woman performs, but she also has to perform all of these other tasks, right? But what's interesting for me about this is she's saying, I have definitely sabotaged or blocked so many similar blessings in my life. So when you realize how easy this can be, that's when you realize that your life up to now could have gone a little differently. could have, or totally differently, right? I think about this all the time. And I know exactly the moments of resistance. And if I associate it with events that happened shortly after, or for a long time after, if I stayed in the same state of mind, I know for a fact I was blocking my own blessing. So I was single for a long time before I met my husband, my now husband. And that has nothing to do with meeting the wrong man or anything like this. I know for a fact it only had to do with me. And if I wanted to do it before, like with the mind that I have now, I don't think I should have been single for such a long time and do it all by myself and all of this. I don't think so. Like, I don't see what I've gained from doing life that way. But that's just an example. But I know I was blocking my own blessings just by my beliefs about the world, just by my beliefs about myself, just by all this inner work that I've been doing and my group has been doing. And you know, I don't look at it with regret, because I understand the person that I was then wouldn't have known, but I look to it to understand and never repeat this pattern of blocking my own blessings, of believing that things can come much easier than my brain can calculate. The brain computing, told you guys, the mind is the enemy, okay? The brain computing a solution, not finding a solution, it will make you feel stuck, frustrated, fearful, whatever that queen was saying in the beginning of this life. All of these things. The brain doesn't see the solution, or is thinking it's going to take you forever. You don't have time. You don't have time. Right? Or whatever else it's telling us, the mind. I want to see if there was anything else, just because we have 5 minutes, unless you guys want to talk about something. I've read this 3. I feel like there was something else. Okay. Now I have another little testimonial. As expected, the workbook and journal prompts are following toe to toe and with what's been giving us feedback to me in 3D. People around me dealing with no, I read this one, right? I read this one last time. I don't think I have anything else. I read this one. It had to do with agreements on what the world tells you. And she was talking there about how, you know, people tell you economy sucks, the situation sucks, aging will inevitably bring disease, which, as you guys know, I don't subscribe to this. And every time you have a conversation about this with somebody and you agree to it, there's a part of your subconscious that actually internalizes this. And that's something you don't want. It is not normal to get diseases just because you're aging. None of this, whatever they told you it's normal. Oh, you're supposed to have back pain in the age of, I don't know, your 30s, 40s. You're not supposed to have any back pain. Don't agree, don't, you know, all these ideas now for women, especially like the moment you turn, I don't know, 35, it's definitely before 40. They hit you with all this information about perimenopause. Guys, you don't need to be thinking about that. You don't need, your transition should be natural and easy. I know it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe because, and if what I'm saying now is hard to believe, it's because you've internalized what you've been told. Remember, reality is negotiable. What applies to the collective doesn't have to apply to you personally. Are you guys with me? Okay, look what fell out of my notebook. It's R. I've had this for 3 years now. In a moment of inspiration, I wrote some I am affirmations, and I'm going to read them now. I read them periodically. Every time I encounter it, every time this thing falls from my book, I read it. Okay, so if you have, this is going to take us maybe 60 seconds. I'm going to recite them. You can recite them with me. Or if you don't want to recite it with me, 1 second, let me put this thing on the live so it leaves me alone. If you don't want to recite them with me, let you just internalize it, okay? And afterwards we will do our tapping, which I miscounted last time for the first time ever. I don't know why. All right, are you guys ready? Close your eyes. Think of your energy structure all around you. Take a deep breath. I am happy. I am prosperous. I am capable. I am strong. I am lucky. I am able. I am wanted. I am accepted. I am promoted. I am recognized. I am a blessing. I am chosen. I am healthy. I am creating. I am perfection. I am the best. I am a gift. I am powerful. I am selected. I am incredible. I am put forward. I am a joy. I am rich. I am generous. I am smart. I am focused. I am the one. I am success. I am a leader. I am protected. I am abundant. I am harmony. I am what people want. You can open your eyes. Take one more deep breath. Let's follow through with the tapping, and I'll see you next Monday. One big breath in. I am a winner. 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 I am a winner.